Welcome to Tiger Tracks, your home for the best of LSU athletics. And now, your hosts, Jordy Hultberg and Bill Frankes.
Hello, Tiger fans around the world. Welcome to Tiger Tracks. Bill Frankes. I am Jordy Hultberg. It's great to be with you. Since last we met, let's see, Valentine's Day. You took care of all that business?
Certainly, to a degree.
You're not in the doghouse, right?
No,
okay,
I'm
all right.
Out of that.
Big basketball. We got LSU basketball against Alabama tonight. The Tigers at 9-3, sitting atop the SEC leaderboard along with Kentucky. LSU's got the tiebreaker as of right now. And LSU baseball gets started on Friday.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yes.
Friday night at 7 o'clock, LSU versus Cincinnati.
Okay.
In the season opener, they'll play Saturday at 2 and Sunday at noon as the Tigers begin the 2016 season, ranked as high as number 5 in the preseason polls. LSU led the nation in victories last season, and of course won the SEC, went to the College World Series. A lot of new faces on this year's team, but we're looking forward to watching this team develop and hopefully challenge again for some postseason honors.
We've seen what Leonard Fournette could do on the football side of things. We saw what Ben Simmons can do on the basketball side. We already knew what Alex Lane could do, but now he's back for his sophomore campaign. Can't wait to see what he does. I don't know how he improves on his numbers. They were astronomical. But Paul Mainieri will join us, and we'll talk about the upcoming season. Peter Finney, you know LSU football and LSU athletics, notable writer for the Times-Picayune for years and years and years. Special little report on him. Special
feature on Mr. Finney's career. He's been covering LSU football since 1945. So we'll take a look at his great career covering the Tigers.
It's all coming your way. Sit back, relax. This is Tiger Tracks on CST. And we begin Tiger Tracks today by welcoming our first guest on the program, and that is, of course, the head coach of the LSU Tigers in baseball, who has their season opener this Friday against Cincinnati, the one, the only, Paul Mainieri. Great to have you, sir. How are you?
Great to be with you guys, as usual.
How you feeling?
Well, I guess it's time to earn a paycheck. What can I say?
You've been doing that a lot. Let's talk about preseason practices. How's it going? I would imagine last year compared to this year, you're doing a lot more coaching than before with so many newcomers.
Honestly, that's the case. It's you have so many new players, and there's so much more teaching involved. Not just the fundamentals of the game, but teaching them to play the game we want them to play.
Right.
An aggressive style of play with a lot of confidence, and just kind of a let it rip attitude.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised how sometimes kids come and they're very conservative and they don't want to let it fully play out.
Let it rip.
Yeah, let it rip. And so, you spend a lot of time teaching them on the mental aspect, the physical tools that it takes to play. We lost so many guys from last year's team. It's such a huge turnover in 1 year. But it's been exhilarating. It really, I feel 10 years younger because you just can't take anything for granted. You got to teach them literally how to tie their shoes sometimes.
Okay.
Like I was telling somebody the other day, our biggest problem this year is going to be diaper rash.
That's pretty good.
Well, Coach, last year you guys led the SEC in hitting. You also led the SEC in stolen bases with a veteran club. You seem to indicate that philosophy is going to stay the same despite the fact you have so many new players. It's still going to be that attacking mode on offense.
Bill, I think we've got the speed to continue with that style of play as well. You've got guys like Antoine Duplantis, Jake Fraley, Brennan Breaux. Those three guys in the outfield can really run. You've got Kramer Robertson, Cole Freeman, Greg Dykman. So we've got a half a dozen guys that I think are capable of stealing a bag against anybody. You know, Andy Cannizzaro came in last year, and one of the reasons I brought him in was because he was a tremendous base stealer in his playing days. And I just sometimes can't devote enough time myself, not that I was as good a base stealer as he, but I sometimes can't devote enough attention to the little intricate details of the game like that. And so his knowledge of getting leads and jumps and studying pitchers, we carve out time for him to spend time with those guys doing that. He made a huge impact with us last year. I would imagine the same would take place this year.
Open up on Friday. Now you're kind of polishing things. I know it's a progression, and this is a team that you're going to see steadily improve throughout the course, but what are you focusing on right here, right now, today?
Trying to catch the ball, really. I know it's as basic as that sounds, but it's been well chronicled that we have a pretty good returning pitching staff. Well, that's the strength of our team, and it can be negated in a hurry if you don't catch the ball behind those guys. So we've really been emphasizing defense, Jordy, particularly on the left side of the infield. I think our outfield's going to be fantastic. Fraley, no Andrew Stevenson in center field, but still pretty good. Antoine Duplantis, who I think is going to be a stellar outfielder. Bo Jordan in left field, it doesn't look pretty when he does it, but you're going to be amazed at some of the catches that he makes, okay? But, you know, he's built like a linebacker. He's not the gazelle running around in the outfield that you have become accustomed to. When Brennan Bro's in there, a pretty good outfielder. So we're good in the outfield. We're solid behind the plate with Papirski. Kramer Robertson is playing tremendous at second base. I think he's ready to come into his own. But first base, shortstop, third base, a little bit of a concern, just the consistency on a defensive side of the ball. So that's it. If we can pitch well, catch the ball behind him, we're going to be in every game, and then it's just a matter of waiting for our hitting to come around.
Okay.
You've always placed a lot of emphasis on the defensive play of the third baseman, and Cole Freeman is the guy who's going to step into that role this year. Talk about his progression there.
I think Cole's done a nice job. He doesn't have the arm strength that we're kind of used to with third basemen, a Christian Ibarra or Connor Hale, but he has great range and quickness, and so he gets to a lot of balls that those guys maybe didn't get to. He comes in on the ball extremely well. You know, he's a tough kid. He's going to stick his nose right in there. I love Cole Freeman, the way he plays the game. Trey Dawson's at shortstop. We just need him to make the routine play for us. And if that happens, we'll be okay on the left side of the infield. We don't have a lot of depth, and that's a little bit of a concern.
It's kind of a culture shock going from where you were to coming to LSU and playing in Alec Box and all the expectations. I'm sure they'll all settle down once they get into the flow of things.
You know,
fingers crossed.
That's the what do they call it when you're not sure of that factor, the unknown factor or whatever. How are they going to react when the lights go on? How are they going to react when there's 12,000 in the stands, the games are on national television, and we keep score and the games really count? And, you know, they usually go one way or the other. And my anticipation is everybody's going to have a lot of poise and composure and handle it well.
All right, we'll take a quick time out. We'll come back. We'll continue the conversation with Paul Mainieri here on Tiger Tracks. We're on CST. We'll be back after these important messages. Stay with us, please.
Tiger Tracks on CST is being brought to you by Capital One Bank, the official bank of all things Louisiana, and by Louisiana Propane Dealers. Get up to $1,200 in rebates on propane accessories. Find out how at louisianapropane.com.
Welcome back, Tiger Tracks. Bill Franquez, I'm Jordy Helper. We continue our conversation with Paul Mainieri. I'm always fascinated and curious. How do you come up with a schedule? How do you find Cincinnati to be your opener? How does that work?
Well, you know, it's not rocket science, Jordy. I sit in the office, and when somebody calls me and says they'd like to play, I put them on the schedule.
Okay.
So, actually, Cincinnati happened. I knew the coach that had been there for many, many years, a guy by the name of Brian Cleary. We had an event manager by the name of Brendan Foraker. Brendan left us to become the associate AD at Cincinnati.
Okay.
And so between those two, the combination of those two guys, they wanted to play. We put them on the schedule. Since then, a new coach has taken over, but he kept the game on the schedule. And now the athletic director at Cincinnati is a very close friend of mine that I used to work with at the Air Force Academy. So there's a lot of that, take care of friends, type of thing.
See, it is kind of interesting how that all works.
Well, but most of the time people just call.
They call you up.
And they want to play games, and I say, okay, let's play.
That's awesome.
I have an unofficial goal. I want to play every team in Division I baseball before I retire.
That's a great idea.
I'm getting close, aren't I, Bill? You're the one that would know.
Name one that you haven't played that you really want to play. Can you think of one off the top of your head?
I don't know. Who
we'll have to delve into that next time we get you.
We've played most of them.
Yeah, I think we've played just about everybody,
Yeah.
you can imagine.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
except, of course, now the teams you're playing this year, Cincinnati, Sacramento State, Fordham, and Ball State, LSU has never played any of those.
Any of those, yeah.
so-
Yeah.
Wow, off the
Well,
bucket
a lot of them
list.
I've coached against when I was at Notre
Right.
Dame as well. So.
Okay.
Well, Coach, I know you're asked this a lot, but the starting rotation, Poche and Lang, arguably the best returning starting combination in the country. Poche will get the start Friday, Lang on Saturday. Is that something we'll see the whole season, or do you even know that yet?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, Bill. I thought that Poche should start the opening game simply because it's probably going to be his last year at LSU. He's given so much to the program. Look, I think he's great. Alex Lang might be the best pitcher in the country, so the fact that Poche is playing a little bit of second fiddle to Alex Lang is nothing for him to be ashamed of. I mean, he's won 18 games in his career here. He's the ultimate warrior out there on the mound. So, I like to see Jared be in the spotlight sometimes as well. And the truth of the matter is we need both those guys to win. We also decided to pitch on Sunday a left-hander by the name of John Valek. So I thought for this opening weekend to split the two lefties and put a power right-hander in between kind of keeps the other team's offense off balance a little bit. I don't know, number one, if John Valek will stay in the third slot or if Austin Bain will continue to develop or Riley Smith will develop and take over as the third starter. And I don't know if that happens, if we would stay with Poche on Friday and Lang on Saturday. Last year we had it this way. It worked out pretty well. We won the SEC. There's some benefit, I think, to having that super stud on Saturday because that's such a pivotal game in a weekend series during the regular season. If you suffer a tough loss on Friday night, boy, it's such an uplift for your team that you got your best guy going the next day. If you won the first night, now you got a chance to win the series after 2 days, you see. So I think there's something to that. In 2009, Lewis Coleman always pitched the middle game. On the other hand, with Aaron Nola, we always pitched him on Friday night, and that seemed to work out as well. So, I think there's two schools of thought to doing it. We'll just see how it plays out.
I don't know how he gets better than he did it as a freshman. I mean, his numbers were staggering.
Well,
staggering.
Let me tell you this. He throws 92 to 95 miles an hour, but he's got that hard overhand curveball. Jordy, that's a big league curveball. But if you can believe it, his changeup is much, much better.
Really?
Alan Dunn's worked with him and developed that pitch, and I think that's going to even make him better. Statistically, he can't do any better than he did, and maybe he statistically won't even do as well. We don't know. He may be a better pitcher, not have as good as statistics.
Wow, amazing.
Coach, you've emphasized over your years in the SEC, the back end of SEC games are so important. Those last outs are so critical to winning so many close games. Talk about the guys you'll come out of the bullpen.
Well, again, along with the left side of our infield being my concern, the bullpen at the end of the games always is such a big concern of mine. And there's been years when I said, okay, this guy's our closer. We're going to start the season with this guy as our closer, and it hasn't worked out. So this year I'm just leaving it open-ended. And I'm going to say, look, we're going to run all these guys out there. We know who the usual suspects are. Jesse Stallings, Hunter Newman, Parker Bugg. A freshman that I just love by the name of Caleb Gilbert, and then we have a junior college transfer by the name of Riley Smith, along with Alden Cartwright and some others. But somebody's going to emerge, and we're going to just run those guys out there. Look, if we're fortunate enough the first weekend to have a chance to win all 3 games, the same guy's not going to be pitching at the end of the game anyway. So everybody's going to have an opportunity, and we'll let them pitch themselves into roles.
The journey begins Friday.
56 games.
56 and plus.
Yes.
56 in the regular season.
There you go.
30 in the SEC, just to give yourself a chance to play the plus.
To play the plus.
Okay.
It all starts Friday. Paul, thank you so much. Best of luck.
Best
of luck. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with much more. 56 to get to the plus, 30 in the SEC. I got to find out who's that team he hadn't played yet. I really need to find that out. We'll be back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Tiger Tracks on CST. I've got a book, and still have it. It's about yay big, about that thick. It's red cover. It's called Pistol Pete. Yeah. The author, Pete Finney. LSU's playing Tulane in basketball. I go up to Pistol Pete. He autographs it for me. I'm just a little young pup, and I'll never forget. But Pete Finney, terrific writer, good friend. He's the best.
Yeah, our correspondent Garrett Walford had a chance to sit down with Peter Finney Jr., Mr. Finney's son, and they talked about the great career of Peter Finney Sr., who's covered LSU since the end of World War II. Wow. Let's take a look.
My dad, for almost 70 years, he was kind of synonymous with Louisiana and New Orleans sports. He covered it all, and really he got his really big break, I think, in the business covering LSU. He covered Gaynell Tinsley's last team at LSU, and Tinsley wound up getting fired. They bring in Dietzel, and in '58 was the undefeated championship team. He started out as a freshman at Loyola, really with a full-time job at the New Orleans States. They hired him right out of high school at Jesuit High School, and so he covered basically early on. He covered prep sports, a lot of baseball and football. He had a 5-day-a-week column, Monday through Friday, which New Orleans at that time did not have pro football. So the staples were LSU, certainly LSU football and basketball. Tulane was decent in those days, so he covered a lot of Tulane, but he did a lot of like Major League Baseball. Boxing was big in those days. So really, he started in '45. He retired in 2013. 68 years. It's a pretty good career. Really, we had been bugging my dad for forever, for 20 years, to say, hey, Dad, you really ought to do something like this, because, I mean, he's been honored so many times as the Louisiana Sports Writer of the Year. He's known around the country. He had kept every column. He had copied and actually cut out and pasted in these big, long binders, every column, or cut them out and put them in envelopes. So we had those. I think we got it down to like 250. There's only 75 in the book, so we really tried to pick the 75 that would kind of characterize some of the great moments, and I just wanted to have people have this in their hands and kind of maybe relive some of the iconic moments in Louisiana and New Orleans sports history. Billy Cannon, everyone knows Billy Cannon, his 89-yard punt return, which was iconic. He covered, Pete Maravich, wrote even a book for LSU Press on Pete Maravich right as he finished his senior season. And a lot of the stories about him, dribbling the basketball in the movie theater and what he did to develop his talents. Charlie McClendon, Nick Saban, all the championship teams when Saban came in and really revived LSU into Les Miles. So the Billy Cannon thing is interesting because in '59, of course, they were unbeaten going into the Ole Miss game, and Cannon returns the punt for the touchdown, and a Halloween night. And my dad, because the State's Item was an afternoon paper and only published beginning on Monday, there was no Sunday paper, he had the time, so he decided to stay over on Saturday night in Baton Rouge. And Bud Johnson, his real good friend from the LSU sports department, information department, took him first on Sunday morning. There was some resident in Baton Rouge had a big, humongous tower, TV tower, that they could pull in WWL-TV in New Orleans, and Channel 4 had the first LSU replay on Sunday morning. There was no such thing as instant replay in those days, but my dad was able to kind of count the number of tackles that Cannon broke and really dissect the play. Bud Johnson took him to Billy Cannon's apartment for another interview, and then Bud put him on a bus back to New Orleans. And that's when he wrote the story. So it's a really it's in the book, and it's an interesting take because it's a live event, but it's also got a lot of background that you wouldn't necessarily get if you hadn't done that little extra homework. It's called The Best of Peter Finney, legendary New Orleans sports writer, and it's online available at lsupress.org or Amazon.com. So either way, they'll be, you can take it, you can go to it. It's a mid-February release, and I think people will be excited to get it in their homes. And great Father's Day gift, great Mother's Day gift, and I think it's just anybody who likes good writing will enjoy it.
Wow, the legend Peter Paul Finney. Back in the day, they had the Times-Picayune and the State's Item, morning paper, afternoon paper. How times have changed.
Well, exactly. And I think of Mr. Finney, the book he wrote about LSU football, The Fighting Tigers, which to me is still the most comprehensive history of the LSU football program. Just a tremendous writer, tremendous person.
When they came out with the computers and all, just a pen and paper, I'm going to do my deal. We'll take a time out. We'll come back with more. This is Tiger Tracks on CST. Peter Paul Finney.
Tiger Tracks on CST is being brought to you by Capital One Bank, the official bank of all things Louisiana, and by Louisiana Propane Dealers. Get up to $1,200 in rebates on propane accessories. Find out how at louisianapropane.com.
We're back. Tiger Tracks. Bill Franquez. I'm Jordy Helper. This is when Bill throws me the old knuckle curve. It's our university feature, and apparently Einstein's theory of relativity has been proven.
Yes.
Explain, please.
Yes, I'll do my best.
Okay.
LSU scientists have been involved in the discovery of gravitational waves, which are caused by the collision of black holes that occurred 1.5 billion years ago, which is very fascinating, of course. Let's take a look as LSU physics professor Gabriela Gonzalez gives us an explanation of this discovery.
On September 14, 2015, in the middle of the night, the LIGO Observatory detected for the first time a gravitational wave produced by the collision of two black holes forming a larger black hole. The signal was seen first in the detector in Livingston, Louisiana, and 7 milliseconds later in the detector in Hanford, Washington. The gravitational wave that was observed was predicted by Einstein's theory of general relativity for the dance of two black holes that collided into a larger black hole. The original black holes had each 30 and 40 solar masses, and when they fused, they formed a larger black hole with 60 times the sun's mass. This event emitted a lot of energy, and it happened a long time ago, more than 1 billion years ago. The energy emitted by the event was more than 3 solar masses, but it traveled 400 megaparsecs until arriving to Earth, and when it arrived, it had a very, very small effect. It changes distances only by a part in 10 to the 21. However, the LIGO detectors are very sensitive, and this gravitational wave could be measured with great precision. That precision is the one that tells us the distance and the masses of the black holes and the origin of these gravitational waves. This is the first time that gravitational waves are detected, and these observations tell us about black holes existing in binary systems with solar masses. We are waiting to see many more of these events when the LIGO detectors improve their sensitivity and the Virgo detector join the international network later this year.
Whatever you say, Gabriella. Whatever you say.
I'll take her word for it.
Back to the Future and all that. It's all coming crystal clear now. All right, let's get back to it. So, basketball tonight against Alabama on the SEC network, and then baseball season gets underway. We're in the throes of everything right now. It's a busy, busy time.
Absolutely. You know, softball opened its season last weekend at home. They're in Palm Springs, California this weekend for a tournament. But
thank you very much.
They'll be playing a lot of home games coming up in the next few weeks, along with the baseball Tigers. Men's and women's tennis is at full strength. Of course, the basketball postseason is approaching, so there's so much going on right now. Men's golf is getting ready to defend its national championship, so we've got plenty to talk about in the coming months here on Tiger Tracks.
Can we get one more on that theory of relativity and black holes and all that? Can we do that next week?
I'll see what I can do, a more detailed explanation.
Please, because it really went. For Bill Franquez, I'm Jordy Helper. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Tiger Tracks on CST.